we are going to make the most popular Christmas cookie, sugar cookies. They're everybody's favorite, and there's so many different ways to make it. So we're going to show you our way of making it, and I would not say that this is an anti-inflammatory cookie at all because it's in the name. It is a sugar cookie. And we do have a keto sugar cookie recipe that we will be sharing. It'll not be in video form, but we will be posting the recipe so that if you can't have all this sugar, we have something for you still. So I'm going to let Haley take the reins on this, and I'm just going to give all the health tips during it.
We are going to start by creaming our sugar and butter. So it'll be 2 full cups. And we left our butter out overnight, so it's all nice and soft. This is a bigger recipe, so it'll make about 56 cutout cookies. If you want to do a smaller batch, you can half it or even do like a quarter size if you're just wanting about, say, like 15 cookies. Okay. So then sugar. And then I'm going to cream it with the paddle, not the whisk, just because we're also going to be using it later, and then it's less dishes. We'll cream it on the highest speed, and then I'll check after about a minute, see if I need to scrape the sides down, make sure the bottom isn't left untouched, and then it'll go for about 3 minutes.
I'm going to do a sugar refill, and we buy our organic cane sugar from Costco. It's a great price. When it comes to buying natural baking ingredients, honestly, I'm paying the same price in buying at the same stores that you are as of right now. Because we're not a huge bakery, I don't have connections with huge accounts, but also a lot of them just aren't selling these. And if you don't have a Costco membership, they usually have quite a few good organic baking brands. We also get our organic brown sugar, our organic A2 milk, and our rice flour blend. Plus, usually around this time of year, they have the Bake Believe chocolate chips. So that's a really great find and a good price.
All right, so the butter and sugar is all creamed. You can see it's nice and light now. So next, we're going to be adding eggs, water, and our vanilla extract.
The creaming the sugar and butter is an important step, especially when it comes to gluten-free baking, because it's going to help it so it doesn't taste so gluten-free. It's going to aerate it a little bit and make it a little bit fluffier. And then the water can be milk. We used to try to keep everything dairy-free, so the water kind of came in when we were making everything without any kind of dairy in it. And a lot of people, for whatever reason, either can or choose to still consume butter when they're not having normal dairy. And it's a little bit easier on your digestive system. So we're skipping the milk. You can add almond milk, oat milk, all that. For us, it didn't make a difference in the flavor using milk. And then using different nut milks then just adds another allergy, which we're trying to avoid at this point. And check out our baking videos to see what you can and can't swap out. I will say that when I first started making this recipe, I was using coconut oil, and it's not bad, but it's not that good. So I would not suggest it. Some people have experimented with using coconut oil and adding some coconut cream. But again, you're going to have a coconutty sugar cookie then. So that's up to you.
And then I'm adding salt now, and then I will go ahead and mix this all up till it's well combined.
And it's always sea salt.
And don't forget to turn down the level of speed for the mixer. Otherwise, if you're using the high speed, which we used when we were creaming, it's going to be probably overmixed. So I would recommend starting out low and going to medium speed. For this recipe, we're using a gluten-free rice flour. We'll use the brand King Arthur's.
We are going to add the flour little by little so that we don't overload the mixer and make the flour go all over the place.
So now that I finished mixing it, I'm scraping the sides down and going to look at the bottom, make sure there's no flour left over there. Otherwise, it's going to be an uneven mix and you'll regret it later not checking. Okay, so I probably will mix this one more time just because there's some flour left at the bottom.
And one helpful tip with this is you do not want to over mix it. So you just want to make sure that it gets incorporated, because the rice flour will start to become too tough when you over mix it. Unlike the chickpea flour, I don't know that you can over mix chickpea flour. I have not done it, but I have over mixed the rice flour blend.
So after mixing the dough, we're gonna need to refrigerate it for an hour. The best thing to do is to separate it into smaller sections that you'll roll out later, just like this one, and you can saran wrap it. That way, when it's nice and cold, it's not too tough to try and make it a more smooth dough.
And if you're someone who doesn't use plastic wrap, you have to find something to cover this up, because if you get dry bits, that's going to mess up your cookie. If you're someone who's going to bake a lot of Christmas cookies at one time, I love to do recipes back to back that you don't have to wash all the dishes for. So this bowl, I'm just going to scrape out some of the extras, but our next recipe is our gingerbread cookies, and there's no like cross-contamination or cross flavors. So we're just going to use the same bowl and everything. I'm just going to scrape out some of the extra bits. Our sugar cookie dough is ready to be rolled out, and your dough can be made ahead of time. So you can make it, you can put it in the fridge, and you can pull it out the next day if you are wanting to do this with your family, that we don't have a huge mess to clean up both in the same day. So we're going to take this, and it came to room temperature a little bit, but it'll still be easy enough to roll out. And we're going to start with trees. Something really important about gluten-free sugar cookie dough, I can't even remember if this is the same for non-gluten-free or not. You can only roll this out 2 times max. Otherwise, the dough gets to be really weird and not a good texture. So what we do is we start with one shape, or you can do whatever shapes you want. And then we're going to cut the rest into squares, but we'll show you how to do that. Okay. You can come through quietly. Okay.
All right, so we're going to start by adding some flour to our surface that we're going to be rolling out on. You want to cover a good portion to the point where you think it's going to be the spot where the dough ends. So as far as you're going to be rolling it out, that's how much space we want to cover. So I'm going to put this in the middle, and then I'm going to grab some parchment. I prefer to cover it and then roll out on top of it. It's going to, 1, keep this clean, but then 2, just make sure that it's not sticking to the dough at all.
Maybe do the flour surface, floured surface. Yeah.
Flour this?
Yeah. We'll use this as a
Floured surface.
I prefer to just do flour and not parchment. So this is up to you. And I always let my employees do it how they would prefer to do it. And my preference is, just so you can see it 2 ways, is all flour both sides of it. So I'm going to take some more flour and just go over the surface of it. And typically I go like this, and I roll it over, and I make sure that it's not going to stick to anything. And then from here, I'm just rolling it out. And as you go, it's important, once you get a little bit flatter, to pick it up and make sure that it wasn't sticking. And then you always have a nice floured surface. This rolling pin isn't the easiest rolling pin to use. I like the really old wooden ones that have the dowel. New rolling pins to me just are never as quality as like my mom's that she's had forever, and I really haven't found one. So if you have a good brand rolling pin, we'd love to hear. If you don't have a rolling pin, you can use a wine bottle, or you can use an apple cider vinegar bottle, or really anything that you have. I've had to do that many times. So I'm going to have you do this one, roll it out a little bit thinner, and flip it over just to, or at least go like this, to make sure that you're not sticking at all.
Okay.
One of our employees says that she has the one that you can set how thin it goes. And with sugar cookies, it is really important to make sure that you're not going too thin or too thick. If you go too thin, you're going to have breaking cookies, you're going to have crispy edges, and they're going to cook unevenly. And so we're going, I think the correct would be about like a quarter inch. So we're just, I never have any of the fancy tools, which it certainly is easier if you're someone who's going to bake a lot, or if you're a perfectionist, that can help.
We're about to that quarter inch, we can go ahead and start cutting out. We're going to be doing little tree shapes. Placing them on the pan, you can kind of alternate directions, and they don't spread, so it doesn't matter too much how close you are. I would say like a half inch, about an inch is fine. All right, so now I'm going to collect all of the little cookie edges that were left over from our dough, scrunch that into a new ball, and then we'll roll it out one more time, and this time we're going to do squares. Yeah, I think I do like doing parchment because it's easier to like form into another ball. True. The benefit of using parchment when rolling out is you won't use as much flour, which, as you can kind of see, when you do the flour, it's a little bit harder to roll it into a ball a second time. And so if you are wanting that really nice ball or dough as close as you can to the first time roll, then I would recommend doing the parchment instead of flour on top.
So I will definitely say that I was wrong in the terms of using the flour, because I'm gonna pick this up just to even show how messy this turned out to be. When you don't use the extra flour, then you don't have all these different layers in here, which if it's falling apart now, it's gonna fall apart when you pick up your cookie. So we're not going to get as many cookies out of this, and we're gonna end up wasting more dough. You can certainly bake the other dough, and I found some of my employees don't mind snacking on that dough. So if you have someone around who's gonna wanna snack on that, that's okay, but you're not gonna get as nice cookies when you add too much flour and then mix it back together. Okay, go ahead and cut it, but you're pretty much only gonna be able to, I could feel like under here you don't really want any of that, so just do probably like 2 squares out of it.
2 squares? Okay.
Yeah. We popped our finished cookies in the freezer for about 30 minutes and then put them in an oven at 350 for 10 to 12 minutes.
All right, our sugar cookies are all done and out of the oven. They have a tiny bit of color on the outside, but not too much. Gluten-free cookies are really hard to tell when they're done, and you don't want to overdo it because you'll end up with a dry cookie, but you don't want to underdo it because otherwise you'll end up with a flimsy cookie. And when the cookie is really flimsy, I've noticed that it affects how the frosting dries on it as well. So I hope that you are able to make these this Christmas season and try not to eat too many of them.